going on, guys, and welcome to Yoda Expedition. Today we have the 3rd gen Tacoma in the shop, and we're going to be installing a bunch of interior mods from AJT Designs. So here on the table we have a bunch of stuff from AJT that's going to be covering up the chrome in the Tacoma and giving it a little bit more of a rugged look. We also have a oversized cup holder here, so this is going to help with those bigger bottles that don't fit in the cup holders that come in the Tacoma. Instead of having to lay them on the seat, these will now fit with this installed. We're going to be starting with the easiest one here, which is going to be the interior door handles. We're going to get those factory chrome ones covered up. We have black and we have topography here on the table. We're going to do 2 of each just to show you what both of them look like. But to do all of this stuff, I have the tools here on the table that we're going to be needing. I have a trim prying tool. We have a number 2 Phillips head screwdriver, a 10mm socket driver, a pick, and then I also have a small Phillips head screwdriver and a small flathead screwdriver. That's pretty much all the tools you're going to need for all of this stuff. So let's go ahead and get into installing the interior door handles and show you what they look like. So these are going to be really simple to install. We're just going to grab our handle, we're going to pull it back, and then we're going to take the cover and we'll slip that on there. Make sure it's lined up properly. Push it all the way back. Make sure the handle works properly, it doesn't get caught up on anything. Make sure your lock works, and that's pretty much it. I'm going to go ahead and put the other top of one here on this back door, and then on the passenger side we'll put the black ones. All right, so with the interior door handles done, we're gonna do the next easiest thing, and that's gonna be the radio knobs. So we're just gonna hop into Tacoma. We're gonna grab the OEM ones, pull those off, and then all we have to do is just line up the back of these and slip them on, and we're done. All right, we're in the Tacoma, and we're just gonna grab our knob here and just pull it straight out. I mean, that can't get any easier than that. And then looking at the back, just line up the shape the way you took it off, and put it on there. Next up, we're going to be doing the vent rings for the interior. We're going to remove those chrome ones and get these black ones installed from AJT. We removed our chrome ones a while ago and we installed some Miso custom ones. So I'm going to have to show you those old clips, show you how to get those chrome ones removed, and then I can show you how to get these ones from AJT installed. All right, so we're going to start with getting this center piece off here. It's pretty easy. Just pull it out, work your way down. And just like that, it'll pop off. Now we need to get the cluster bezel removed. So we're going to start here, and we're going to just pull it out. You might have to move the steering wheel down. Take your time. There we go. All right, so make sure the steering wheel is down all the way and pulled out all the way, and then you can work it out from the top, just like that. All right, so we got one last vent to get out. I see a lot of people using a pick, and they go around and they pull it out, and then I just see like a bunch of damage around the outside edge of this vent. So I'm going to use the pick in one location so that I can get the, actually I don't even need to use a pick. Just go ahead and get yourself a trim tool and put it in there. Work your way around and twist. Once you get it out far enough, you can get your fingers behind it and it'll go ahead and just pop right out. All right, so now that we have these parts out, we're gonna go ahead and flip them over, and we're going to get the vents popped out from those. So if you look at the back side of these, you're gonna have 3 clips per vent holding them into the trim piece. So we'll go ahead and pop these out. So we're going to take an X-Acto blade or razor blade, whatever, and on the back side, these little white dots are the plastic from the chrome ring, and we have to go ahead and trim all of these off in order to get this out. Once you have all those cut off, we're going to go ahead and take our pick tool and we're going to push down on all of those areas to break them free. Might have to trim those a little bit more. That one you can tell is free. Now we can go ahead and just push down hard on those little tabs, and eventually the ring will start to come out, and then you can flip it over and grab it with your fingers. Pull it out. All right, so we're at the point where we have the chrome rings completely removed. We have our vents snapped back into place, and now we're ready to install the vent rings from AJT. They do give you an alcohol prep pad, so we can just clean this surface where the double-sided tape is going to be sticking. So I'm going to go ahead and wipe that down, and then we can just peel off the double-sided tape on the back of these and then press them into position. Let's go ahead and get this open, and you can see this flat surface here on the inside. That's where the double-sided tape is going to be sticking. So I'll go ahead and wipe that. Now we have that cleaned. We can go ahead and peel off the backing here for the double-sided tape. And when you go to install this, it's really up to you how you want to put it on. You can put it so that you have this ridge kind of like straight up and down, or you can turn it and you can have it so it's like in the middle. It's up to you. I'm going to go like this with it. And once you have it in there, all you have to do is just press it on and you're good to go. So once you have all of the vent rings stuck to the vents, we have the center one here, and then you're also going to have the one here by your passenger door and one over by your driver door. Once you have those done, we're going to wait to reinstall this because we have to keep this off in order to get the panel out where all of our switches are for the start button, the four-wheel drive, and the climate control stuff. We're going to go ahead now and take all of that out, and we're going to get all of those buttons or knobs switched out with the AJT ones. So the next thing we're going to do is get this whole unit out here in the middle of your dash. In order to do so, I have a trim prying tool that has like a hook on it. We're going to be using that to just pop this out over here. You can use your fingers, but it's a lot easier to just use something like this. And then a 10mm socket or nut driver like this, and we're going to be just taking the two bottom bolts out from the radio. There is a plastic tab here that tucks up underneath the radio, and it's a little difficult to get this out unless you take out those two bottom bolts to lift the radio a little bit. So first thing, I'm going to pop off this top section here, this panel. So I'm just going to take this and hook it in there and pull out just like that. You can do this again, like I said, with your fingers, but it's a little bit easier to do this with a trim prying tool. And you can pop off this one here. Now we're going to go ahead and grab this up here in this corner and start pulling this out. Once you have this side popped free, you can work your way down until you get this side popped free. Just like that. And as you can see, it's tight because this little plastic piece goes up underneath the radio a little bit. So that's why I'm just going to take out these two bottom bolts. Can probably just loosen them a little bit, just enough so that the radio moves. Now you can just pull this out, and we're going to have 3 plugs down here. One for the start button, one for your 4-wheel drive, and then one for your heater control. So with all of those unplugged, we can now take this whole unit over to the workbench, and we can get all of this chrome and these knobs switched out for the AJT ones. All right, so we have this whole unit here over on the workbench. We're gonna go ahead and remove the whole start button assembly so that we can swap out the button and the chrome ring that goes around it. The 4-wheel drive knob we're also going to be completely removing from this, and we have to take this apart so that we can swap out the knob section. And then these rings here for your climate controls, these are pretty easy. We'll just use a pick and these will pop out, and then we can snap the new ones in place. So for the start button assembly, you can see we have a tab on the top and on the bottom. So just push both of those and the start button assembly will come right out. And then for the 4-wheel drive knob, same deal. You have a tab on the top and the bottom. These ones are a little bit harder to get squeezed to come out, but once you have both of those pressed in, this will pop out, and that's that. So we're going to start with the start button here. I have the small flathead screwdriver, and to get this chrome ring off is going to be pretty easy. We're just going to put the screwdriver in between the housing of the switch and the chrome ring and just twist lightly and just work your way around. And once you get pretty much all the way around, this will come right out. Now we can go ahead and take out the start button. We're going to take the start button out before we put our new ring on, and the ring and the button are sold separately, so if you want just one, you can do that, but we're going to take the flathead screwdriver again, and we are going to put it down in between the side of the button and the housing, and we'll lightly pull up. Once you have it pulled up, try to hold it there with your thumb, and then we'll move about 90 degrees, do the same thing, hold it, and just work your way around, and eventually it will pop out. There we go. When you take out this button, just make sure you take note to what orientation this was in, because it can go in any way. So if you're looking straight at the button with the letters facing you, this writing here is to the right of your button. Now we can simply just take the new one from AJT, get it in position, snap it in place. That's done. Now we can take the ring. This is only going to fit one way. Once that is lined up where it needs to be, snap that in, and this can go back into our dash piece. Next up, we're going to be working on the 4-wheel drive knob. So we're going to take that small Phillips head screwdriver that we have, and there is 2 screws on the back side. We're going to go ahead and take those out. Once we have those 2 screws out, we're going to start disassembling the switch. So we're going to take off this back plastic plate, and we can pull out the motherboard. I'm just going to line everything up here in order as I took it off. Then we have this piece here inside. So once we get to this point, down in the center there is another Phillips head screw. We're going to go ahead and take that out. Once that screw is out, the button on the front can come out, and this whole thing can come apart, just like that. All right, once we have it to this point, we have to now get the chrome ring off. So if you look inside the backside of the switch, you can see 2 chrome tabs, one on each side, and there is a black plastic clip that is holding it in place. So what we need to do is try to pull back on the black plastic and then push down on the chrome to push that ring out. So I'm going to take a pick, and this is helpful to get that clip out of my way. So once you have the pick in place, it will slide in between the black clip and the chrome piece. And now we can take our screwdriver and we can push down on that chrome to push it out from the switch. This part could be a little tricky. Just have patience and eventually you will get it out. I'm going to pull that chrome ring out, and then also this rubber ring around the outside that can come off. We're going to be replacing both pieces. So we have the new one here from AJT, and you can see on the inside you have the little slots where the tabs are going to lock in place. So we're just going to line that up with the tabs on the factory switch. And then once that is lined up, it's only going to fit one way probably. Once that's lined up, you can snap that in. And now we can reassemble the switch. So we'll take this, put that back at the two-wheel drive spot because that's where it was before we took it apart. We'll flip it over, get this piece back on there, and we can reinstall that center screw. Make sure that's tight and you have like no play in the switch. Now we can take this, drop that back down in place, put that back in place, and now we can put these screws back in, and this will be done. All right, so with that back together, we can now put this back into our dash piece. Just snaps in. Make sure the switch works as it should. Everything looks good. So now we can go ahead and do the climate control trim rings. Those are pretty easy. So for these climate trim rings, I am going to be using this pick tool. And I'm going to go from the bottom of the switch. So you're just going to put the pick tool right underneath the trim ring and just pry up. It already popped out almost all the way. Turn it maybe 90 degrees, pop it again, and they come right out. So now we can take the new ones from AJT and we'll go ahead and drop those in place. You'll feel if it doesn't want to like drop in place to actually snap in, so just turn it and then you'll feel it go down a little bit more and you'll be good to snap it in. So that one's done. We'll go ahead and do these other two. So for example, this one here, you can see it's not going down quite far. So we'll turn it and it dropped down a little bit more and it'll snap in there. Those are all done. All right. So we got all the trim rings done here and the start button. So now we can go ahead and reinstall this into the dash, and we can also get the section reinstalled where we did the vent rings. Next up, we're going to be removing the center console from the Tacoma, and we're going to be getting the front cup holder swapped out for these oversized ones. Also, we have a trim ring that goes around the back cup holders, and then we have this little trim ring that goes on top of the shift boot, right underneath the shift knob. So to get the center console out, you're not going to need any tools. We're going to take the shift boot here and just pop it down from the bottom of the shift knob, and we'll go ahead and loosen the shift knob, take this completely off. Next thing we'll do is pull up the e-brake and we'll open up the center console. If you have anything in here, get out of the way. Now we can pull up on this section here of the center console. At the top of your e-brake boot, there's a little spot where you can put your finger. So we'll go ahead and pull up there. We'll pop it up there, and then same thing on this side. Now once we have that popped up, you can pull it up a little bit more. You'll find a plug right here for the shifter. So we'll go ahead and take that out. And then we can go ahead and pull this off. It's a little tight here on the e-brake boot. Just wiggle it back and forth. We can go ahead and pull that off, and we can take this whole thing over to the workbench. Center console is out and we are over at the workbench. And the reason we're going to be swapping out these front cup holders is because if you have a bigger bottle like this, you can see that this does not fit where it fits in there very nicely. So in order to take the cup holders out, we're just going to flip it over, and we have 6 Phillips head screws. We're going to go ahead and take those out, and then this will come right out. Last screw, this comes right out. We can drop our new one in place. Once that is all screwed back in place, we can take our old cup holder here, this center section, and just pull that out, and we'll transfer that over to our new one. Next thing we're going to do is get this trim ring here around the other cup holder. We're going to get that removed and get the black one installed. So from the inside, you'll see a bunch of clips. We're going to have to go ahead and push those through. So you can see we have one clip here, one here, all the way around this. So we'll go ahead and get those popped out. Okay. Once you get that out, more than likely you probably have a lot of dirt and crumbs and stuff in there. So just give that a quick wipe out, and then it comes with a alcohol pad. So we're going to go ahead and wipe that down, make sure it's nice and clean so that the double-sided tape sticks very nicely. With that nice and clean, we'll go ahead and peel the backing off of our double-sided tape here. So with all of that removed, you can just go ahead and drop it in place and work your way around, making sure to push down good so it sticks. All right, so we got both cup holders done. We can go ahead and reinstall this into the Tacoma. When we reinstall it, we can put in our shift boot ring, and we'll be finished with this. So before we get the center console reinstalled, you can see we have this black piece that runs across the center here. There is a Phillips head screw in the center. We're going to go ahead and loosen that. We're going to pull it back as far as we can and retighten it. Because we have the oversized cup holders in here now, the front of this hits the cup holders just a little bit, so we need to pull it back to give ourselves some clearance so that the center console fits better. So we'll go ahead and loosen that up and pull it back as far as we can. You might only get an 1/8 inch more of clearance. So we'll go ahead and retighten that down. We'll go ahead and drop the center console on, plug in our shifter, put the shifter through our boot, and get our boot lined up for the e-brake. And we'll go ahead and start in the back. We'll get this into place first. Make sure all your clips are lined up. And push that down, both sides. Push that down. Make sure you have no gap all along the side. Make sure all the clips are in. Now we can take our trim ring. Let's close this. Take the trim ring for the shifter and just go ahead, and that's going to sit right on top of that chrome. And then when you put your shift knob back on, tighten this down. We'll snap this back up in place. That'll hold it in place there. No more chrome on that. Now we can just take our e-brake boot and just shimmy this back and forth until we get it back down to the channel where it sits in. There we go. That's done. So with the center console finished up, the next thing we're going to be doing is the Tacoma inlay on the passenger side of the dash. On the glove box, it says Tacoma. We have some topo letters here we're going to be putting in place of there just to give it a little bit more style. So I'm just going to take one of the alcohol pads from one of the other installs we did and just wipe these letters out. And now we'll go ahead and peel the backing off here and get these put in place. All right, so we got that finished up. Nice little touch to the dash there on the Tacoma. And I just want to mention that the Topo option is exclusive to Yoda Expedition. So if you like this and you want to pick a set up, you can grab a set from Yoda X. Two more things that we're going to be going over that was not on the table earlier is the steering wheel surround trim, and we have some key fobs also from AJT. We're going to start with the steering wheel. So the first thing we're going to do is disconnect the battery because we are going to be messing with the airbag and we don't need that going off for no reason. So let's get the battery disconnected and start ripping apart the steering wheel. All right, so in order to get these pieces off from the steering wheel, the tools I have here is a trim prying tool. That's just going to be to get the covers off on the side of the steering wheel. Once you get those covers off, you're going to find a T30 Torx bolt back there. There's going to be one on each side of the steering wheel. We're going to go ahead and loosen those, and that's going to allow the airbag to come out. You don't have to disconnect the airbag if you don't want to. You can just rest it up here on top of the steering column. And then once we have that removed, you're going to find some Phillips head screws in there holding the side pieces on. We'll go ahead and take those off, and then we can get this whole trim piece out and work on it over at the tool, workbench. So just pop the cover off the side, and you'll find the Torx bolt up in there. Go ahead and loosen those. Same thing on this side. Once that's out, you can see we have 4 Phillips head screws. So we'll go ahead and take those out. With those screws out, there's a couple of plugs we need to undo. So we have this center plug here that's going to both sides of the steering wheel. We'll go ahead and take that out. This one right here is just for your horn. So you can just go ahead and pull that off. Now we can just grab this, pop this off, grab this side, pop that off, and now we can go over to the workbench and we can get the pieces swapped out. Flipping these over, you'll find an additional 3 screws on each side, so we'll go ahead and take those out. Once those screws are out, you can just flip it over and simply just pull off the front piece. Just be careful that you don't separate this whole thing, because if that does come apart, all the buttons and stuff are going to fall out, and it's going to be annoying to put back together. But once this is off, you can simply just take your new one. Here's a Topo one that you can get exclusively from Yoda X. And just pop that on, flip it over, reinstall your 3 screws, and we'll do the same thing to the other side. I just want to note, if the Topo is not your style, we do also offer these in just plain black. So we got both sides swapped over. Now we can go ahead and put this back into the Tacoma. All right, screws are reinstalled. Go ahead and plug in the horn and plug back this in. Now we can just take the airbag, drop that back into position, tighten down those Torx bolts. Pop your side covers back on. We can just hook up the battery and we're done with this. Last thing on our list of mods from AJT for the Tacoma is the key fob. So we're going to be swapping out our boring OEM key fob here for something with a little bit more style. Here's a black one with Topo on it. So we're going to go ahead and get this thing disassembled. We're going to transfer all the guts over to our new one, and then we'll show you what it looks like. So in order to get this OEM key taken apart, we're going to push the button on the side and we're going to pull out the backup key. Inside you'll see a little slot, and the front of this key will fit in there. Once it's in there, we'll just twist, and that's going to pop the key open. Once that's open, you'll find the battery with the motherboard, and you'll also find this rubber gasket. We're going to need both of those to transfer over to our new one. So we're going to take the new key fob here. We're going to get the battery dropped in place. You can see there's those 4 marks right there, kind of in a shape of a circle. That's where the battery is going to sit, just like that. And then we'll get this laid on top. This side we'll get the buttons installed. The buttons should fit only one way. So buttons are installed. We'll go ahead and put the two halves together. Just like that. Now we can take the 4 Allen screws and get those tightened down. So that's all together. Let's go ahead and test it. Everything's working properly, so now we can go ahead and transfer over our keychain or whatever we have to this, and we are done. All right, guys, that's going to wrap up the key fob, and that's going to conclude this video of the AJT Designs interior mods for the 3rd Gen Tacoma. If you have any questions about anything that we installed, make sure to leave us a comment down below. And if you want to grab any of this stuff for your Tacoma, make sure to head over to yodaexpedition.com. Click the link in the description. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys on the next one.